Welcome back to this video. Today we're going to be looking at the top challenges you will face when you're job hunting. And we're going to be giving you tips on how you can avoid these challenges. And I am joined as usual by Paminas, who is going to be talking on this topic.
Asante sana, Cynthia.
So in your experience, which challenges do you think job hunters or job seekers face?
Yeah. So for me, I can group the challenges into two. So there are those within your control and there are those without your control. So for example, one of the areas that is not within your control is, let's say you've seen a job but you don't have the industry or the sector experience. So there's not much you can do about it, Cynthia, because if I want someone who's worked in manufacturing and you've not worked, and I mean, there's no need for you to be hard on yourself, because I'm sure tomorrow there will be a job that you require someone with your kind of background. Yeah. But there are other challenges you'll face which are inwards. It comes from yourself and the way you behave and the way you see yourself. And that can impact on your job search. So number one, being desperate. So if you feel that you need this job tomorrow, and you're willing to do anything, and that is where you find even people being conned because they are so desperate. So if you have more than 3 years of experience, I believe there's a better way to go about your job search and to plan your career in general such that you don't find yourself desperate for a job. Yeah. The other issue you find is confidence, and this I believe is closely related to you being desperate. So you find many job seekers, that aspect that you want something from someone, you want a job. And a job is not just a job, it's part of our identity. It gives us confidence. It even to some extent provides meaning to life. So you'll find sometimes professionals, if they are not currently engaged or they're applying for position and they're not getting feedback, their confidence might be affected. And not just confidence, also the other soft skills. For example, negotiation skills. So you find someone, when they go for an interview, they are not able to articulate the value that they are bringing on board. And so they are not able to negotiate for the best outcome. Yeah. Another challenge to expect is competition. And unfortunately, Cynthia, most professionals, they downplay this. Why? Because they look inwards, they say, oh, me, I'm qualified. I have CPAK. I've done BCom. I have 10 years of experience. I need to get a job tomorrow. And I need to earn this amount of money. But what they forget, there's an issue of supply and demand. And as long as we live in this world, there will always be more job seekers compared to opportunities. That's the reality. So you always find there are more trained accountants, there are more trained digital marketers, there are more trained monitoring evaluation specialists than there are vacancies. So with that, what does that mean to you as a professional? First is to accept the reality that there's competition. Then the question to ask yourself is, how do I stand out? So this is where you invest in yourself in terms of your CV. You make sure the documents you're using, they speak for you, they're able to sell you. It also means learning some of these soft skills, like how do you ace an interview, how the personal branding, how do you negotiate. So you don't leave your career to chance. So that's very important. Another challenge you are likely to face, especially, and this applies more entry level to mid level, is where I see professionals, they confuse quantity with quality. And I know this is an area that we've addressed before. So quantity is where you apply jobs for the sake of it. You are going all over with the assumption that, if I send a CV to corporate staffing, maybe they'll have a vacancy. You see someone has advertised for an engineering position, you're in customer service, simply because there's an email there, you send your CV. That's not the most productive way to do your job search. Yeah, I always advise, look at a job description. Do you meet 70 to 80% of the requirements? Only if you meet, then do you take the next step of applying. And when you apply, make sure you tailor-make your CV to suit that position. Now, Cynthia, what will happen is you come from now applying 50 positions in a month to maybe only applying for 5 positions. And I can guarantee you, out of those 5 positions, you'll be called for an interview 3 or even 5 of those positions. And that does work wonders because it gives you confidence. You're able to see, someone appreciates my training. Someone is able to recognize my experience. Yeah, and that it does help. Even when you go to interviews, you're more confident. As opposed to, oh, I've been sending CVs for the last 6 months, 9 months, I've never been called for an interview. Yeah. And lastly, the other challenge professionals face, especially the senior level, is lack of time. And why is time important? Now, as you scale your career, some of the job search methods, they don't work as well as others. For example, if someone is looking for a leadership role, a head of department, a high-level managerial position, sending your CV all over will not help you. What works here is networking. Who knows you? Who can speak on your behalf? Yeah? Who can open doors? And that will depend on how strong your network is. And how do you network? One of the key resources you need is time, because you have to create time for coffee, you have to create time for industry events, you have to create time to catch up with your former colleagues, with your former boss. So you need time. So, and most of the senior professionals at this level, they have families, they have marriages to take care of, they probably even have investment, or they are going back to school. So you can see it can be a bit of a challenge. But for me, from where I sit, it's just to make sure you prioritize, and networking is something that you should prioritize and invest time in, such that now you don't find yourself out there in the cold, and the last time you talked to one of your networks is 5 years ago. They're not going to come running to you because now you don't have a job. Yeah. But at least if you had talked to them the last 2 weekends and you tell them, oh, guess what? There's a calamity at our workplace, we've been declared redundant. That someone would be willing to meet you and see how they can be able to help you.
So I know as you were mentioning the challenges, you're also giving us some of the solutions. But do you have anything on top to add to this?
What I can say, Cynthia, is that all too often professionals, they leave their career to chance. Very few of them, and I would say, having done this for the last 13 years, I would say it's only like 5 to 10% who really, they proactively manage their career. So a lot of times you find, especially when it comes to job search, what will happen, people will start running around when they've either been declared redundant or they've fallen out with their immediate boss. So, but you shouldn't look at your career that way. Yeah, so be proactive and look at, what can I do to make my career better? Do I need a short course? Do I need to keep, talking to my networks? What can I do to be proactive, such that no one knows about the future? But should a calamity befall you, at least you have something to hold on. As opposed to you disappeared from this face of the world, and now something has happened and you don't know what to do. So be intentional. Number 2 is closely related to that, is just get also to know yourself, your skills, your weaknesses. What areas do you need to improve on? What can you do now? What can you do in the next 2 years? What should you plan for? Yeah, a career is a serious thing. Think about it, Cynthia. I mean, here, this is where you spend the prime of your time, because from 6, the time you wake up, you leave the house at 7, you're thinking about work. Even if you leave the office at the dot 5 p.m., it will take you like maybe 1.5 hours, 2 hours to get back home. So the reality is the whole day is taken up by your career. So why can't you just sit every month, maybe give yourself 1 or 2 hours to think about the direction that my career is taking? That way, the issues we've discussed, you being desperate, the high competition affecting you, you lacking time to invest in your career, it will not be there. Yeah, so be intentional, focus on your career, invest, see what you can be able to do, and you're going to see a big improvement. Yeah.
So thank you so much for those tips, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this job search series where we give you tips on how to approach your job search, and we hope to see you in the next video. Bye, and see you next time.